of the team.
Alright everybody, looking ahead to UFC 241. In the co-main event, we're going to have a very interesting welterweight matchup between two legends of the sport in Anthony Pettis taking on Nate Diaz. Anthony Pettis coming off a big win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, making a big step into the welterweight division. A lot of people counted him out in that fight, and he came through in a big way.
Yeah, no one saw that coming.
Yeah.
No one saw that. I didn't see it coming.
He's looking to continue his success in the division, taking on Nate Diaz in a grudge match, which, Nate Diaz is another 155er and hasn't fought since his epic rematch against Conor McGregor. Mm-hmm. So he's coming off a big layoff. These two guys hate each other. They're ready to throw down, and it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, now looking at the stats, we have Anthony Pettis coming in at 5'10" with a 72.5-inch reach. We have Nate Diaz coming in at 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. So we have Nate Diaz taking the height and reach advantage in this one. All right, now getting into their fighting styles, we have Anthony Pettis, a very flashy and creative striker. He's a black belt in Taekwondo, so he uses a lot of kicks, a lot of spinning kicks, really good leg kicks, head kicks, and body kicks. He's also really good with the hands. He has a really good straight right, and as we saw in the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight,
very good Superman punch.
Very good Superman punch. Also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he does have a good amount of submission wins under his belt. Very good off of his back. Dangerous fighter all around. Now, Nate Diaz, very straightforward game in the stand-up, but he's as vicious as they come with it. Very good pressure boxer. Really good at controlling his power, mixing his 50% punches in with his power strikes. Relentless, great cardio, so he's coming at you full pace at 100% of the time. When he has your back up against the fence, he's on body shots, head shots. He's looking to break you down in the fight. He also is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Cesar Gracie. So he too has a lot of submission victories under his belt. Also very good off of his back. And very good top game as well, if he can get on top. Yeah. Now, getting into the fight itself, there's two things that defeat a Diaz brother.
Loose women and partying, baby.
That, and also wrestling, which Anthony Pettis does not have. But what he does have are leg kicks.
Yes.
You throw leg kicks, especially in Nate Diaz in his fights. We've seen it with RDA, and we've seen it in the Conor McGregor fight. Those leg kicks were key in slowing down the pressure, keeping him stationary, and setting him up for the wrestling with RDA and the strikes for McGregor.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't check him. Him and Rampage Jackson. Yeah. They don't check leg kicks.
Anthony Pettis does have good leg kicks. One thing I will say about him is I don't think he has the same power that RDA and Conor McGregor possess. And what we see in Nate Diaz's fight with Conor McGregor is even though he was taking those leg kicks, he still was dangerous. He was still plodding forward, still coming at McGregor, and still trying to break him down, especially in the cardio department, trying to hit McGregor with those body shots, trying to wear him down and get McGregor gassed in the later rounds of the fight. Now, one major thing that I want to point out with Anthony Pettis is this fight is at welterweight, and though he did get his victory over Stephen Thompson in that fight, he did look slow, he looked heavy, and he was pacing himself pretty good, but his cardio may be coming into question, especially if that fight were to last longer. With somebody like Nate Diaz, who's a cardio machine, and he's going to be in your face the entire time, that's very bad for him.
I think we should specify, when you say Nate had a long layoff, it's not like he wasn't training or doing anything active. He's a very active guy, so it's not like he gained a whole bunch of weight in the off season. Yeah, so if you're like a newcomer to the sport and you don't really know the history of the Diaz brothers, if they're not fighting, they're still training. Just want to clarify that.
Anthony Pettis, he has been active, and so he is in the best shape he can be at 170. But like I said, looking back at that fight, he didn't really look like he belonged in that weight class. Whereas Nate Diaz looked the same. Anytime he's fought at 170, he still has his cardio, he still has his pace. All of that is the same. Looking at ways for Anthony Pettis to win, other than the leg kicks, which he's really gonna have to rely on in this fight. The one and only guy who was actually able to finish Nate Diaz was Josh Thompson, who used a lot of footwork and used a lot of angles, to really throw Nate Diaz off of his game, catch him in ways that Nate Diaz didn't see coming, and eventually just took him out. But that being said, that's something that Anthony Pettis really doesn't do. He doesn't really use angles. He is creative. He will, throw some crazy kick off the cage or some cartwheel kick. But, other than that, he really kind of fights in a straight line. And, I don't see that working against Nate Diaz. Overall, what I see is Nate Diaz being able to take everything that Anthony Pettis can throw at him. Although Anthony Pettis is powerful, we've seen Nate Diaz, tough as hell. And there's no signs of his chin diminishing. no signs of him slowing down. You know, he's going to be the same Nate Diaz.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, the guy does roll with the punches, so it's not like he's just eating those shots cleanly. He is rolling, like we saw with the Robbie Lawler and Kobe Covington fight. Robbie wasn't eating those shots, head on. He was rolling with the punches, and Nick and Nate Diaz, they do that. They incorporate it into their defense with striking. So it's going to be a tough task trying to knock out any Diaz brother. That's if this fight even happens. I mean, Nick and Nate Diaz are very emotional and erratic guys. If something pisses them off, they're going home. Screw this, man. I'm going back to Stockton.
I'll say this because I see, especially lately, I've seen that narrative being written out about the Diaz brothers. And one thing I want to point out is that when Nick or Nate Diaz sign up for a fight, they're not pulling out. They're going to show up. That last one was on Dustin Poirier. Nate was supposed to fight against Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier pulled out because of an injury. Yeah. Nate Diaz had a lot to say about that one. I'm not going to fault Dustin Poirier for that one. If he was injured, he was injured, and that's that. That wasn't on Nate Diaz, and I don't expect him to pull out of this fight either. Him and Anthony Pettis just do not like each other. They've had their own history. They've had altercations. This event coming up is the night they're going to settle everything. So we have it. That's our prediction for Anthony Pettis versus Nate Diaz. I'm really looking forward to this fight. These guys are going to go at it. They hate each other, and they're ready to swing. And we're looking forward to talk about it after it's done. So everybody, thanks for watching.
Did Pettis just say something to you?
Yeah, he didn't say shit. Put his head down and look down, but he's walking by like he's tight. And you know what? Call him a bitch right here because he thinks he's tight. He's been talking that shit in the internet and like want to act like you don't see me when he's here, but don't act like you want to fight or act tight if you're not gonna do shit.
Bro, Nate Diaz ain't shit. I mean, me and Nate Diaz had a lot of issues going. I was the champ of the UFC and the WEC. Yeah. Nate Diaz was calling me out. He got lucky with a fight with Connor and got the win. Yeah. But until Nate Diaz ain't shit. Yeah.